industries that would have employed huge swaths of Americans out there. The whole industry was shut down by regulation. And so after that, we were eventually thrown back into the Web 2.0 era, a blast from the past of mobile apps, oversaturated, tired old apps.
Is Web 3.0 over? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it over? I don't know. I'm kind of out the loop with crypto. I still have.
Right.
Right.
And the same principle applies where we're recycling as much of that tree as we can, and it's sort of walking up the tree,
Yes. Okay.
exploring this frontier.
Okay. So then this is what we end up with in the new rope. So before we dive in, what are the indexing methods that you mentioned? You know, there's like the
Yeah, what are they?
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah.
I'll loaded question. This offset, is it bytes or can you use
Bytes.
something else? What else?
Yeah, UTF-8 bytes. Like
Okay.
the string is encoded in UTF-8, and so that's a UTF-8 position.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you had a multi-line piece of text there, instead of those, is that true? Yeah, these methods are generic. In some cases, no.
I think the cursor, this cursor, likes to operate in terms of offsets. The things that are generic are the summarization pieces. So you can kind of say, okay, in this particular range, I want to extract like a summary of this piece of text, right?
Yeah.
And that's the generic part. We have this notion of a text dimension, which is like literally a dimension of this larger summary that we capture. I mean, we can look at what the summary is. So if you go up, there's this notion of a chunk summary. And yeah, that is a text summary. There.
Okay.
So for every internal node in the tree, in this B tree, we will store this information basically.
There's sort of the length in
Oh,
bytes, the normal thing. But then there's some cases when interacting with language servers where we need to do references in terms of UTF-16 code points, which is like a different coordinate space. So we go ahead and index everything's length in terms of that. And then this is interesting. We use a point. So a point is like rows and columns, but what that's actually indexing is kind of, if you were to take the head of a typewriter, like the carriage of a typewriter, and walk it over the text, like the rows is sort of how many times it has to kind of carriage return. And then finally, the final columns is like the length of the last line. So that sort of summarizes, like in typewriter coordinates, like how long is this thing?
Okay. And why would you need first line chars and last line chars?
I think that's to calculate the longest row. It's basically a way to efficiently, I forget exactly how we implement it, but it's basically a way of being like, if you have two summaries that you're trying to kind of add together in the tree, in order to know what the length of the last line is on the first summary, well, the length of that is going to be the length of the last line of the left-hand side summary plus the length of the first row in the right-hand side summary. So I don't know how, yeah.
Yeah, the key idea is that like these text summaries, we summarize each leaf of the tree, right? But then like it's an index, and so what we're doing is we're adding up these summaries, we're aggregating them. In fancy words, the summaries form a monoid, an associative structure that's like aggregating up until we finally have a summary of the entire rope at the root of the tree. But if we're going to maintain some kind of guarantee that within that summary we understand what the longest row is, then we better be sure that it does end up being a kind of the first row or the last row when they're added together. Like when they're added together, we might have split a line in half, but when we combine that together, it ends up being the longest. So
Okay.
yeah, we could even look at that code that does that.
Yeah, I'm right there right now if you follow me. This is basically a way to add two text summaries together. And you can see here, like, we're trying to track what the longest row chars are, right? And so, like, to understand that, like, one thing we'll do is just look at the summaries by themselves, right? It's like, okay, if this other summary's longest row chars is greater than ours, then great. But yeah, before that, what we do is we join the last line of that first summary and the first line of that second summary to see if that would become the longest row at that point. So yeah, that's a way, and the way that we use this information in the editor is to calculate what the longest row is so that we can approximate a scroll width for the editor without laying out all the lines.
Yeah, it's only an approximation because we only know in byte how, what the longest line is in terms of bytes, but of course characters can have different widths. You might have emojis and weird stuff in there, but it's never actually been a problem.
Okay.
And it's fast.
All right. So should we dive into the code here? Like what happens under the hood when we say, I don't know, we push something into a rope, right? If we have an empty rope, then rope push here. I think I read through this before. This is
this
edge case up front, I guess, right?
Yeah, this changed a bit since the last time I touched it. So, but yeah.
This is all the stuff we looked at. And then it talks about syntax errors, and I was like, okay, parsing must be done. Do you mean?
Yeah, that seems like the end. Yeah.
Do you mean part 7? Wiring up the parser. The error handling. Delete the blah blah blah. Design note, logic versus history. Should we put where? Okay. Yeah, so he's talking about that, which I probably agree with. Okay, so this is like a side note about precedence. No, this is a side note about backward compatibility.
Yeah, this is not really about that.
So do they mean part 7 next?
Evaluating expressions.
No, because that's iterating over the tree and like...
Chat, what are you talking about? Be more specific, chat.
Oh, wait. There's... Okay, someone has given me a specific link.
Yes, we needed chat to be more specific.
Where the link isn't opening. Chapter 17. Oh, so by the next part, you mean chapter 17. I mean, I think that's fine. Again, like maybe the advanced stuff is at the end if you consider that.
But that's not that. I would say no, because if that's what you were handed as your first explanation, though.
Yeah.
Right. It's important to explain it clearly the first time. That's kind of what we're talking about. Like, obviously, anyone who becomes an expert in parsers will know about Pratt parsers or whatever else you want to call this sort of stuff because you'll study the problem a ton. The point is, if you're someone who doesn't want to become an expert in parsers, you just want to write a parser, the first explanation should explain this. That's the whole point of this whole thing. The Dragon book, for all I know, might have a Pratt parser mentioned in some exercise to the reader somewhere.
I almost guarantee they do, but so they don't,
That's not the problem. The problem is not that the information doesn't exist. It's that it's not presented as the first way to understand it, is that you have left and right-leaning trees and you're trying to interleave them, which is the critical part, right?
Yeah. I'm looking in the P section really fast. Pratt VR, 189 to 90. Yeah, so they mention it for like one page.
Yeah.
In the Dragon book.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, in the references for chapter 3. So they don't even really talk about the algorithm. It's like references. Okay. So if this is about parsing, it's misleading because it's called compiling expressions, and that to me says like back-end stuff.
This is definitely back end.
But there was a thing that said side note, it's just okay. Pratt parsers are a sort of oral tradition. No compiler or language book I've read teaches them. Okay, so he's talking about that paper here. It's the most elegant way I know to parse them. Why are we parsing expressions again in section 17?
That's really weird. No one would know to even look at this if you were just building a parser, because you wouldn't be reading this part.
I mean, I guess, so I'm using it as a reference, right? But if you're using it as a learning book, you read it differently, and you probably read the whole thing. So, I don't know.
No, I object. I object again. Because this is exactly what happens with the Dragon book. You read the parsing part, and you go, wow, this is really confusing. You may never get to the compiling part. Like, you have to teach the parsing well, because without a solid understanding of how to build a parser and keep that simple, they're never going to get to the part where they do optimization passes or whatever else, right? So no, this is the same problem as the Dragon book again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the motivation behind doing this later. Maybe we should ask him.
Yeah.
It seems weird to me because he's like, oh, now I guess, so it's called crafting interpreters, right? And an interpreter is a lighter weight thing than a compiler. Where you have some other program that's the runtime. Typically, you might even look just at the tree and run plus by saying, oh, I'm visiting the binary tree and this node is plus, and so I'm going to add A and B or whatever, right? And then compilers are when you take that several steps further such that you can create a program that could run on its own without something else running it, right? That's the difference between an interpreter and a compiler. I don't know why that, he's acting here like that causes you to change the parsing, which it doesn't.
Yeah, it's very strange.
The method of parsing is orthogonal. So I have to believe that this is more incidental. He felt like that was more advanced and wanted to leave it till later.
Possibly.
It's just weird. I don't get it. Okay. But yeah, this is mostly parsing token. Why are we here again?
It's so weird to redo this. You'd think that this would have been in the first part, where about parsing.
Maybe this was going to be a second book or something, and it wasn't long enough.
Maybe this book is more of just a collection of things and that got loosely reorganized, and it wasn't ever designed as a book. I reshuffled my blog posts or whatever. Sometimes that can happen.
Okay, parsing prefix expressions, parsers for parentheses for grouping. I still don't really, I'm skimming again, obviously, but I still don't see the actual, okay, here we go.
Here we go.
This is the actual part that explains it. It's 2/3 of the way down section 17 about a compiler instead of interpreter.
17.5.
It's good. Again, this is good information. I'm glad it's here. I just don't quite understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand the order of the information. And
it
again,
needs to get moved up. Yeah.
It's not temporal in the order he learned it or anything, because he wrote that blog 10 years before this. So he knew this the whole time. So he's interleaving parsing with
and code
output,
gen.
which again, it's a fun stunt, but you don't want to do that once your compiler exceeds a certain complexity. But for teaching, I guess it's fun to show how simple it could be to emit code, right? All right. There's a precedence table. Prec none for all these things. I don't know. Get rule. Okay. Yeah, so he's broken it into a couple of functions here, but and I don't know if these definitions are above or below. Advanced might be eating a token. Oh God, he's broken these into separate functions that you return because Java. All right, I'm not going to understand this.
Yeah.
But so he returns a function from get rule. I don't know. Get rule is later. This looks more complicated than it needs to be, honestly. But okay, But he does talk about it and reference it. I can't evaluate just from a skim how good I think the explanation is, but the information is there. And
But
that's
once
great.
again, it doesn't look like it's explaining it in terms of, like, I really liked your explanation of it in terms of, like, look, we know that it's either going to be a tree that goes this way or a tree that goes that way, and all we have to do is, like, alternate between those to get the right thing. Here we go. That's a much easier way to understand how these algorithms work. And so, again, I would say that needs to be kind of front and center, I think, in an explanation, because a lot of times these things are implicit. Like, they don't really, like, say what actually needs to happen for the algorithm, and it leaves you wondering what the algorithm actually does.
Well, that's
right?
my
like,
big thing.
Literally.
That's my beef about a lot of things, like technical writing generally. This book, by the way, is sort of, this book is, I do agree that I don't, while skimming, see the deep explanation that I would like, but maybe it's there, and I just,
maybe
I'm
we'd
blind
have to
to
spend
it,
some more time with it.
Yeah. Not a criticism of this at all, but more like when you read some of these computer science papers, right? There's like an academic computer science voice that people have learned to write in that is not very much like the voice of the great computer science papers, by the way. So, you know, think about that. But it's a voice that involves trying to sound smart, but also not explaining things too much. And especially not explaining
the important part.
The reason you would do something and the context and when would you do this and when might it be a better idea to do something else, right? And like all of those, that's the real information. Like the algorithm, like if you have enough context and understanding of the problem, usually algorithms are not that hard, especially if you have like a hint at what it is. But like we seem to have all this writing that's the opposite. And that's what, you know, there was this tweet that I deleted because I didn't want to harass people accidentally, but it was about that.
Point out,
it was about that probabilistic
tweet,
algorithm book.
Before you mention that tweet, you should point out that, like, this, thankfully, this crafting interpreters page seems to be written in a much nicer fashion, which is nice. Like, if you look at just what's on the screen right now, that's very human readable, right? Like, no one's going to be like, what the heck is he talking about? They're like, oh, I get it, right? Like, okay, I see what he's saying here. So that's very refreshing as well.
Oh, absolutely.
But yes,
all in favor. If you're ever going to explain something, make it more like this and less like whatever random computer science paper.
The GJK paper. That's the ultimate reference of all time. Just read the GJK paper, and if your paper sounds anything like that, delete the entire LaTeX file and make a new one.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So the information's in there. Someone says Java is ast walk interp and C part is bytecode interp. I don't know what C part means. Oh, I guess this is in C. So they're redoing stuff in C. I don't know what Java looks like, but this looks like C. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Fatality!
The end. I think we're out of stuff to talk about, but it's just, I wanted to do my part to signal boost several things. One, this is very simple. First of all, if you understand it, don't get all high and mighty and try to confuse other people about it, because it's actually pretty simple.
Yep.
Two, what do we do about this cultural problem that we have where if something as simple as this, still, despite these other people having done what they can to publicize it, is still not understood by many people, right? What about the things that are actually more complicated, right? What about those? I don't know, but...
I mean, I think it's a fitness function problem, right? Like, currently, there is no reinforcement function for someone else was able to understand it. In fact, it's somewhat the opposite. Like, for academic stuff, it's probably easier to generate more papers the less number of people understand what you're talking about, because they're much less likely to reject it from a journal if they don't really know what you said exactly, right? Like if you understand something, you might realize it's not new.
Yes.
But if you don't understand something and it just kind of sounds like it's roughly something, then you'll be like, oh yeah, you should publish that, right, or whatever. So I assume that part of the problem is that if literally just getting papers published is your fitness function, you're kind of this is what happened. So you just have to stop that. Like the whole idea of like peer-reviewed journals and all that stuff, that has to go away. That was a very bad idea. It should never have happened. And what you should be doing is like, hey, if a particular publication is able to actually have other people be able to go do something with it, that is the actual fitness function. And how do we get there? How do we get more towards that, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one other thing that happens is a lot of so-called algorithms, right? Like, especially as you get more applied in these papers that claim performance wins and stuff, which are usually almost never real.
Garbage collection is faster than manual memory management.
Yeah, or even our tweak on garbage collection improves it by 13%, and it doesn't really, right? And it also, by the way, has all these pathological cases and stuff and inputs. We just wanted to get this paper out, so we didn't really think about this other thing, right? And it's like, these papers are full of that stuff, and the more you understand what they're actually saying, the more you see those holes, right? Whereas if you don't really understand the algorithm and you're just like, oh yeah, it looks good, right? Same thing, right? That feeds into that paper fitness function thing you were talking about, from a slightly different direction. So yeah, oh dude, I have so much beef about computer science papers that claim performance improvements. It's been sadness every time.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with that. Most computer science papers don't know how to measure things, so they're very suspicious usually.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have to bring back the meme because
bring back the meme.
This is what the people
get that
want.
Up there.
This is what the people want.
This is all. So the only takeaway that you really need from this stream is this meme.
Yes. This is about the entire intellectual content of this stream, honestly.
Can I make one change to this meme to make it even more awesome?
Yes.
Can the dude in the cloak say that's left sometimes?
Just that might be too smart, but yeah, let's do it. Here we go. So
is that makes it more specific to parsing, this particular parsing
we
problem.
We are a prompt service.
Because then it's like almost impossible to even understand the meme unless you've seen this stream. Because it won't make any sense otherwise.
So do we want to modify this? Or
and I think that was fine.
I'll put a 1. Must use Layler 1 generator with flex and Kubernetes.js with them.
I mean, there was a thing like, this is my only suggestion there. That's probably what you should put, but I remember the Red Dragon edition of the book having some garbage on the front, like LALR1 parser generator and syntax-directed translation. Can you just copy what it said and stick it at the top there? Because that is pretty close to perfect as well.
Okay. Syntax-directed translation to defeat the complexity of compiler design. That's literally what it says. It says, so the dragon, this is the new version, but it's in principle, it's like when Disney remakes The Lion King in live action. So all the elements of the scene are the same. The dragon is wearing a shirt that says complexity of compiler design. And the sword, you can't really see it, but the sword is the sword of Layler parser generator.
You got to get that in there.
And the shield of syntax-directed translation, right?
Yes.
All of which is bullshit. The one phrase on here that isn't bullshit is complexity of compiler design.
Which is true.
But parsing isn't the complicated part. It's the rest of it that's hard. So, syntax-directed translation. With Layler parser generator.
Yes.
It might be a little small, but
yeah. Well, what can you do?
What can
memes
This is the complexity of memes. All right. I don't know. I think this is as high reg as it goes.
Yep.
All right, see, we are a full service shop here. Yeah. Okay, very low res.
Oh, it went off the top.
No, it didn't.
Oh, I can't see it. I can't see the top of the meme.
Am I? So my OBS may not be.
Oh, okay.
No, it is. It is. Maybe it's Google is not showing you.
It could be Google is Googling it. As long as it's visible in the real meme, I'm fine with it. Oh, now I can see it. It was just the zoom, I guess, was making me not see it.
Well, the zoom in
yeah
was cutting off the bottom for me, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that's great. Thanks, everybody. We could do questions or something if you want to hang out. Otherwise, that's all I want to talk about.
Totally up to you.
Does anyone have intelligent questions that is worth the time of Casey Muratori when he could be off making new things for his Substack?
Gallivanting.
Yeah, or gallivanting, or doing both of those things simultaneously. Serious questions.
All right, so it just keeps on coming up. Look at that, I did it again. Alerts are off. So this keeps coming up. This is apparently the perfect language. Dreambird, okay? The Future of Code podcast recently featured Dreambird. Dreambird is the perfect programming language. These are its features. When you're finished reading through all the features, check out the examples. Okay. Behold, every statement ends with an exclamation mark. Okay. Okay. I see this isn't a conceptual item. This is going to be a piece of language. Okay. I'm glad we're doing this. I guess we're doing this one for the memes. If you're unsure, that's okay. You can put a question mark at the line instead. It prints debug information about the line to the console for you. I almost kind of like that. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of like that, okay? It could be a really great little... It's actually useful. I actually kind of like it. Dang it! You might be wondering what Dreambird uses for the not operator, which is an exclamation mark in most other languages. That's simple. The not operator is the semicolon instead. I re-hate the language. I re-hate it. I just went from going, oh, okay, maybe I could like it, to nope, don't like it. Nope. Declarations. There are 4 types of declarations. Constants can't be changed in any way. Okay, constants. Const variables can be edited but not reassigned. Okay, so this is JavaScript constants. Okay, classic JavaScript constants. Great question mark, yeah. Variable constants cannot be reassigned, or can be reassigned but not edited. That is actually shockingly potentially useful. Okay, once again, maybe this language is actually the best one. Again, this is not bad. This is not bad. Okay, this is not bad. This is not bad. And then you got a var. Okay. New for 2023, mutable data is an anti-pattern. Hell yeah, girl. Use the const keyword to make a constant. Its value will become constant and immutable and will never change. Please be careful with this keyword as it is very powerful and will affect all users globally forever. What's the difference between const? I thought constants can't be changed in any way. Then what the hell is a const? Naming. Both variables and constants can be named with any Unicode character or string. Gosh, I hate it. Okay, I re-hate this language. This includes numbers. Heavy Fortran vibes. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Some languages start at array start at 0, which can be unintuitive for beginners. Some languages start at array, which isn't representative of how code actually works. Dreambird does the best of both worlds. Arrays start at -1. What am I looking at? This is a language worse than JavaScript. All right, new for 2020. 2. You can use floats for indices too. Ain't no way. Oh no, it even orders it correctly. thing. -1, 0.51. It's a war crime. All right. In case you really need to vary a variable, the when keyword lets you check a variable time each time wait, hold on. In case you really need to vary a variable, the when keyword lets you check a variable each time it mutates. I don't get that. Oh, it's a signal. Okay, that's actually cool. I mean, other than this equal statement, I don't really understand what I'm looking at. Is this an equality check or what? What are we talking here? It's an event handler. Okay. Again, kind of neat. Also super awful, but kind of neat. Did you know that JavaScript had a when keyword? Did you know that? Or no, a with keyword. Did anyone ever read about with JavaScript? This is one of the only features of JavaScript that they actually took back out, because it's the literal devil. Adds an expression to the scope chain and used for evaluating statement. It is like legitimately the devil. Look at this. With this array, you could just call toString and you get numbers out of it. It's the craziest feature you've ever seen in the language ever. Oh, Lord have mercy. Yeah, this is like I didn't grab no shoes or nothing. I ran for my life. This is the craziest thing that has ever existed ever. Oh, no, we have too many things. We have too many things going on. All right. Lifetimes. Dreambird has a built-in garbage collector that will automatically clean up unused variables. However, if you want to be extra careful, you can specify a lifetime for a variable with a variety of units. 20 seconds. Imagine.
Fatality.
Imagine using. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is actually kind of interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you, this is actually super interesting. Okay? Can we agree that this is that's interesting conceptually? This is insane. Look at that! You're gonna go backwards! Loops are complicated, relic of archaic programming languages. In Dreambird, there are no loops. Yes. To install Dreambird at your command line, first install Dreambird installer. To install the Dreambird installer, install the Dreambird installer. New to 2022, and due to the complicated installation process, you can now install the Create Dreambird app that installs everything for you. Booleans. Booleans can be true, false, or maybe. Technical info. Booleans are stored as 1.5 bits. Right? Dreambird has significant white space. Using space to specify the order of arithmetic. This is genius. This is actually genius. This is actually genius. When it comes to indentation, Dreambird strikes a happy medium that can be enjoyed by everyone. All indents must be 3 spaces long. Reasonable. Negative 3 spaces are also allowed. No. No, not that. Oh no, time to implement left pad in this one. Equality. JavaScript lets you do different levels of comparison. Equal for loose comparison, this one for more precise comparison. Dreambird takes it to another level. You can use double for loose comparison. Nice. You can use triple for precise, and you can use this one for even more precision. Imagine how long 8 equals D could be. I just want to let you know this This is statistically unaverage equally, okay? You can also have much less precision. Oh, baby. Look at that one go. That one's beautiful. That is just beautiful. Thank you, beautiful wife. You're more beautiful than this. Bye. All right. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna actually die. Oh no. You just need to use any of the letters. Oh my goodness. Dividing by 0 gives you undefined. I mean, it's technically correct. Yep, fuck's a very appropriate function name. Strings can be declared with single quotes or double quotes. They can also be declared with triple quotes. You can use any number of quotes you want, even 0 quotes. How do they know it's a string? Imagine writing the parser for this thing. String interpolation. Please remember to use your regional currency when interpolating strings, okay? I can't do it. I can't do it. Make sure to follow your local topographer. Oh no. Oh, my stomach hurts. That is so funny. The symbol for the Cape Verdean escudo is placed at the decimal separator position as in 250. Developers from the specific Republic of Cape Verde can benefit from the syntax. Very inclusive. You know what? This is what Rust Global needed, okay? This is truly it. Types. Type annotations are optional. Okay. Int, capital. Okay, weird. Let's see. By the way, strings are just an array of characters. Similarly, integers are just an array of digits. If you want to use binary representation, int 9 or 99 types are also available. Oh my goodness, that's like Zig. Technical info. Type annotations don't do anything, but they help some people feel more comfortable. Oh my goodness. You can use regular expressions typed to narrow string values. Very cool. To avoid confusion, you can use any spelling you want, such as regex or regular expression. For simplicity, all sorted regular expressions match the expression regular expression. Oh, there's an error in here. I don't know how to describe it, but I guarantee you this does not work. There's no way this works. What's the regular expression site that generates the graph of what this could be? Regex 101. Regexer. Regexer. Oh, here we go. Wait, where's the one that does like that shows like the... Yeah, where's the visual one? Regex P. Okay. regex101.com. Where's the one that actually gives the I'm always afraid. Okay. Okay. 0 and 1 times. As many times as possible, giving back as needed. Okay. Okay, so you get reg, potentially ular, one of these, and X.
Fatality!
So you could use reg XP. Okay, okay. You really can, okay, you can really get some good ones in there. That is just insanity. The hell am I even, what am I looking at? All right, previous keyword lets you see into the past. Okay. Lets you see into the future. Oh no. File structure. Let's see, write 5 or more equal signs to start a new file. This removes the need for multiple files or any build process. New, you can even do file names. Exporting. Many languages allow you to import things from specific files. In Dreambird, importing is simple. Instead, you export to specific files. Yes! The inversion! It's inverted! That is beautiful. You can make classes, but you only can ever make one instance of them. This shouldn't affect how most object-oriented programmers work. This is this is just the greatest insult of all time. Got him. All right, this is how you can do it. Okay. Oh, no. 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 Time. Use date.now. By the way, you can set date.now. Delete. To avoid confusion, the delete statement only works with primitive values like numbers, strings, and booleans.
Fatality!
This is literally like a chef's kiss. This is so good. I can't even believe you could I don't even know how you'd program this. This is so good. Dreambeard is a multi-paradigm programming language. This means you can delete the keywords and paradigms you don't like. Delete class. With perfection, when perfection is achieved and there's nothing left to delete, you can delete. No. No! All right, you can overload variables. The most a recently defined variable gets used. Okay. Okay, good. Variables with more exclamation marks get prioritization. Nice. Cascading. Let's go. Cascading stylized sheets. Let's go. This is good. You can reverse the direction of your code. I'm just trying. This is insane. Class names for maximum compatibility with other languages. You can alternatively use class name keyword when making a class. Let's go. Let's go React. In response to some recent criticism about design decisions, we would like to remind you that this is part of the JavaScript specification and therefore out of our control. You can embed DBX in Dreambird. It's just Dreambird, but it also uses HTML. Okay. As you know, class is already a keyword in Dreambird, so you can't use it within this. Okay, good. Class name is also a keyword, so you can't use it either. Okay. Instead, use HTML class name. Nice. Unlike JSX, you are free to freely use the for attribute because Dreambird doesn't have loops. Asynchronous functions. Asynchronous functions synchronize with each other. They take turns running lines of code. You can use a no-opt keyword to wait for wait for longer before taking your turn. I am so confused what that even means. The program above the computer interprets no-op as a string, and its sole purpose is to take up an extra line, so you can use any string you want. Nice. Any string. You could just put whatever. Okay, this is outrageous. Signals. Okay, when it comes to signals, the most important thing to discuss is syntax. In Dreambird, you can set and get signals with just one function. Score, get the name, and print it. Set the value. Okay. Alternatively, you can be more explicit with your signal syntax. And yep. Okay. Wow. Okay. This is pure syntax sugar. The split functions. Okay.
Fatality!
Oh, they're the same thing. It finally means that name ordering doesn't matter. This is so good. This is everything I've ever wanted. Automatic exclamation mark. Oh, nice. Nice. This is hilarious. Oh, this is such a rip against JavaScript.
Fatality!
So if you don't know, when JavaScript engines encounter something that isn't an expected token, it walks back a step, inserts a semicolon, and then tries to re-go. Right? Automatic semicolon insertion, right? If you forget the end statement with the exclamation mark, Dreambird will helpfully insert. Yeah, okay, nice. This is also fine. Also features ABI, which stands for automatic bracket insertion. No, it doesn't. If you forget to close, oh my goodness. This is also fine. This is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Copilot, it's worth noting, GitHub Copilot doesn't understand Dreambird, which means Microsoft won't be able to steal your code. This is great for when you need to keep your open source project closed source. Yes, ownership. Using the word Dreambird in your project name implies that the Dreambird Foundation does not own your project. However, not using the word Dreambird in your project Yes! Yes! Here's some examples. Dreambird Script, not owned by Dreambird Foundation. You are free to use this name. ECMAScript, owned by the Dreambird Foundation. Please consider renaming. Rust Foundation, owned by the Dreambird Foundation. Yes. Yes. Come on. This is so good. This is so good. Oh my goodness. This is the greatest thing. They own it. They own Rust Foundation. Oh my goodness, they're gonna get sued for this. You can just hear the seething going on by the Rust Foundation right now. You can I can actually hear it right now. Highlighting. Syntax highlighting is now available for Dreambird in VS Code. To enable it, install a highlighting extension and then use Dreambird configuration file. Here's what it looks like.
Good morning, butterflies. It's me, your fairy godfather, Charles. And I'm here to grant you a special wish. And that wish I know you just made was for knowledge. So I will go ahead and pollinate you with my sweet nectar of knowledge. The situation I covered a couple days ago with the individual who was driving with a suspended license on a Zoom court hearing about his suspended license actually has some huge twists and turns here that not even the Game of Thrones showrunners could have figured out to subvert our expectations. The whole galaxy, but especially the Michigan Secretary of State's office, owe this man a huge, sincere apology. Addressing the elephant in my ass, yes, I am still not home. I am still in front of this SpongeBob title card of a background behind me, but it's very funky and I appreciate that. I'm still on the run. I publicly said My Hero Academia fell off and I haven't been safe since. So, anyway, for those of you that are unfamiliar with this whole case, I'll drop the lore for you. An individual named Corey Harris went viral for this Zoom court hearing where this happened.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually. So just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
Wait. Okay. So maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended,
That is correct, Your Honor.
and he was just driving, and he didn't have a license.
An iconic moment in legal history that will no doubt be studied by the best and brightest minds in the field for eons to come. A perplexing case. Now, all of humanity was clowning on this. I made a video talking about this briefly and then going over some other really classic Zoom court moments. Because it's just so silly. Like, to go to the Zoom court hearing while driving with a suspended license, it's kind of a fucking power move, actually. Like, that's a statement right there. The only thing that could have made that any better is if he was puffing on a cigar while drifting around. I've really got this as like a cheesy action movie in my head right now where he's the main character. And then he like gets out of the car and he pushes away on a skateboard and hits a kickflip or something on the way out and tells the judge to pipe down. He's got more important things to take care of. But it turns out, like a transformer, there was more than meets the eye here. So while he may have been driving with a suspended license on paper, it turns out that wasn't the reality of the situation. It was actually a clerical error. It is true that his license was suspended in 2010, however, it was rescinded in 2022. So what happened is, due to this error in the internal combustion engine that is our beyond dog shit legal process, that information never made it through the proper channels. So he should have been totally green light to drive. You can take the license away from the man, but you can't take the man away from the license. It's the same thing. I just said the same thing in a different way. That's definitely not how that's supposed to work, like the expression. Point is, it's not like when they took away his license, it was like the Space Jam basketball taking away his like ability to drive. He still had the capability of driving, just not the legal authority to do so. But in 2022, he did get that granted back to him, or at least he should have. But apparently the soulless husks at the Michigan Secretary of State's office never received a clearance from the Saginaw Friend of the Court. I hate that title, by the way, Friend of the Court. That shit sounds so childish. Makes me feel like I'm reading a Dr. Seuss book. Yes, this is the Michigan Secretary of State's office requesting thumbs up from the Blorbus County Super Buddies. Looking for big pats on the head, please, nuzzles you. I don't know, I hate that. Just Friend of the Court sounds so stupid for like an actual legal thing. So because the Michigan Secretary of State's office never got that clearance, the lifting of the suspension never went into effect, so the judge was working off the paperwork that was incorrect, stating that his license was still suspended when, in reality, it was not. They tracked down the clerical error and it has been rectified. However, Harris did spend 2 days in jail. And he made this statement saying, "With the type of ties that I have with the church and the community, it's very embarrassing." Which I completely understand, and this whole thing is turbo dog shit. It's more than just like blushing of the cheeks, like embarrassing, you know, it's not like his voice cracked while asking someone on a date or something. Like, this is pretty serious. It's unjust what happened to him. Please ignore the Ford ad. They break up every 3 sentences in this article with an ad. I've now sworn that I will never buy a single product that advertises on any mainstream news outlet because of these intrusive fucking abominable ads. But this is the explanation. So the deputy legal director for the Michigan Secretary of State told the station that the process to get a driver's license reinstated can be a complicated process. Sometimes it's as simple as, we at the Secretary of State's office did not get a clearance from the court that everything was done, but something happened in the wires and we needed to talk to the court to get the clearance and clean it up for the resident. Which they didn't do until he had already been in jail for 2 days. So, like, he still suffered from this, and I think he should be compensated for that. He didn't do anything wrong, but he had no way of knowing that or knowing how to properly correct this. In an interview that he gave after the dust had settled with all of this hoopla, he did mention that his license was supposed to be fixed 2 years ago, but it just didn't. So he was aware that there was something definitely awry here, something was wrong, but he didn't really know what to do about that. So he still ended up, turning himself in and all of that. And then in the interview, he did mention at the end, always double check the workers because they say they're going to do something and they just don't. He's 100% right about that. When you deal with anyone in any kind of government position, it seems like they view it as a shameful thing to do their job. Like, they seem to want to do everything but what they're supposed to, which really hurts just normal, average people. And also, no one watching what happened had any way of knowing that either. Since this story came out with this update here, people have been mad at me saying, like, oh, how could you have fucking slandered this man? You should have really looked into this a little bit deeper so you would have known he was innocent from the start. Brother, look around. What the fuck are you talking about? How would I have gotten that information unless I was fucking auditing them? Like the goddamn, what was it, the Saginaw friend of the court? Like the Michigan Secretary of State's office? What am I supposed to do? Like march on over, kick the doors in and say, everyone, hands up. I'm gonna need to see all your paperwork here. I saw this silly clip online and I need to verify the authenticity of the driving without a license charges. Give me everything you've got. I got a fucking warrant here for all of it. So, come on. Like, there's not an amount of research anyone could have done to find that information. They had to track down the clerical error on their side. There is nothing some fucking bumbling reptile brain idiot like me could possibly do to get that information because it is not available unless you literally worked there and investigated it. I do think some of the records with the suspension and then like the rescinding of it are publicly accessible documents you can have access to, but it's still not something that you as just like the average dick in hand Joe Schmo can do to connect the dots on why those wouldn't match up, like why this paperwork didn't make it through the whole process, what the hang up was. Like that's not something that you can track from the outside, I don't believe. So I'm definitely sorry, and I'm super sorry that this happened to him in the first place, because again, he did nothing wrong. He was completely blameless for the driving with a suspended license charges here. Like, the biggest apology of all should come from those authorities there, but there's not going to be any repercussions there. They're just going to throw their hands up and go, whoops, clerical error, gee whiz, sorry bud. And that'll be the extent of that. They'll just wash their hands of it and be done with it, close the book, and nothing more will come from it. And it's a real fucking shame. They never face any real repercussions for fucking people in the face like this, and it sucks. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe something comes from this. Maybe there's some kind of internal change where this kind of thing won't happen as often in the future. Doubtful, but who knows. Anyway, though, I feel terrible for Mr. Harrison. What he went through here, he did not deserve it at all. That's about it. See ya.
Then I think you can get there, and I'm not really sure. I've never played with shared memory buffers in JavaScript with workers. Can you edit them at the exact same time? Because that would be the win. If you can edit them at the exact same time, then you could actually get some pretty fast speed, but you also have no synchronous logic that's available. You'd have no ability to say, hey, I need to own this region for some amount of time before anybody else. You have no lock, you have no mutex, you have no semaphores. And that's where the things get real. I mean, that's always the problem. What's that semaphore? Well, it's to prevent you from dying.
Of reliability, go nuts, you have my support, but that's not what I'm here to talk about today. What I'm here to talk about is this giant gap in the middle here. This gap exists with a lot of the tools and technologies we talk about. I've always referred to it as the uncanny valley, and I think that's the case here more than ever. If we draw lines for this space here, uncanny valley. This is an area.
By the way, I hate Excalidraw, how they try to make the handwriting like it's handwriting. and having the slight inconsistency, like that little thing right there, it's so evenly inconsistent, it bothers me. I hate consistent inconsistency because it's not real.
Where the tooling isn't going to
I
be
know you can disable that. I have it disabled, but I'm just saying the fact that, like, you know, you have like the open mouth here, you have the open mouth here. It's just like it's
perfect for anyone because it doesn't lean far enough in one direction. TypeScript and JavaScript will always have a crazy ecosystem of reinventing how we build so that we can move faster and do really cool stuff. And that's great for people who are in greenfield projects. And Rust will always move a little bit slower and be tolerant of things like terrible compile times because their goal is performance and safety above all else. As a result, these things are very exciting and enticing because they represent extremes. And those extremes get us extremely either excited or disgruntled. And this is why those technologies get the clicks, the reach, the stars, and all the hype that they get, because they represent extremes of mindsets and extremes of needs that developers have. But there are things that live in this middle ground. And
you know what I'd love to see? I would love to see somebody who has never, ever programmed before. Like, if only I could have like a real experiment here where I could have 100 devs who've never programmed before, like a 2B devs, and 100 of them go and learn Go, and 100 of them go and learn JavaScript, and see where they get in 1 month. Like, that's the real dev velocity that you want to measure. Again, I think one of the problems that you're seeing is that you're measuring this from a position of understanding. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're measuring it from a position that you already have a bunch of this pre-built-in knowledge that makes it feel like what you're good at is easy to use. Have you ever talked with someone that thinks C++ is super easy? And yet, I have. I know some people. I have some people on my team that have been doing nothing but C++ for literally 30 plus years, and they're like, oh, it's actually really easy. You just have to do all these things. And for them, it's like completely straightforward. But for me, it's not straightforward. It feels difficult. And so what ends up happening? You think something is easier than it actually is. And so that's generally how I view all graphs when it comes to dev velocity, is that I think we're all wrong. I think that I'm wrong, okay? I think I'm wrong on what is actually easy and not easy. I think Theo's wrong on what's easy and not easy. I think this is really just this is better to look at. I think it's probably better to have this graph as perf matters to what I am most familiar with matters. That's probably a better way to put this graph, because I would have something probably slightly different here. Honestly, if I were to build something, I could easily build it in TypeScript. I wouldn't be able to easily build it in Go as easy because I'm simply not as familiar with Go. Remember, I'm really only in on like 3 weeks of actually trying to learn Go. But I'm already like pretty close. Like, my line would be like right here on TypeScript. It'd be like right there. And so I can already tell that my ability to learn it is extremely fast. Rust, on the other hand, I did it for 2 years for all my side projects plus a bunch of internal tools, and I was pretty dang fast at it. I'm pretty like comfortable in Rust. But I can tell you that there's definitely like this weird trough of not being fast, or these moments of like sinking your dev velocity. And that's where things get very interesting with Go, or I mean with Rust. Rust is something where you're making progress, you're making progress, you're making progress. You realize that one of your design decisions is actually not good, and your velocity just tanks because now you have to reconsider huge swaths of your program to get it going, and then to go back up and keep going faster. The trough is real. Like, I think Rust generally is as fast to develop as TypeScript, but if you goof it up just a little bit, you'd collapse. Is that not true for other languages as well? It's not nearly as true for other languages. Other languages have the ability to kind of to put stuff over the top. What about the dev velocity when you move across boundaries of context and share code? Like when your Rust program is no longer just doing that one thing and is now used by other Rust programs across teams. Yeah, that one's also interesting. So I haven't got to that point. So I wouldn't know about that point yet. That's what I still don't know about that. But it is very interesting. It is really interesting because I just, like I said, I only did it for pet projects / for tools, and tools are very like kind of one-dimensional. And I even rewrote one of my Rust tools in TypeScript just to make it easier for other people to use, run, and be more comfortable with. You know, like I was willing to do that.
There are things you could do to make these other technologies fit here. I know that people have hacked stuff like Java to fit in here with languages that are built on top, like Scala. I know people have tried to make Ruby run faster by porting its runtime to stuff like Java. None of these solutions really filled this middle out great.
I think Java does fill this, like any of the Java stuff. If you're really good at Java, you can whip out a lot of services and you can do a really good job pretty easily. Like, I mean, most of Netflix backend is just Java. People can do it. That's like definitely an argument of familiarity. Java Spring totally can do it, and it's much faster than JS or TypeScript. It can do